That's right, everybody. Today we will frame the CNC29 Mark II for you. Is it any good? Should you have it on your shortlist? Do you need this in your life? Well, let's have a closer look.
Sailing good old boats is my passion. From fixing them up to the day they are splashing. From seeing them under canvas to feel them in motion. Someday I'd love to cross an ocean, bringing them back to old glory, make some part of my story. Sail away, on the waves we'll play. Together we roll, find a home. Sail away, away. Painting the hull, shining bright, working all day and into the night. Dreams of adventure, dreams of the sea. These old boats, they were meant to be free.
Chance of rain 70%. Highs around 60. Northeast winds 10 to 15 miles per hour with gusts up to 25 miles per hour. Chance of rain 70%.
Yeah, the vessel has a keel step mast. Nice teak and Harley floor. The portside bench can be extended to a double berth by folding it out and over. And the table can be extended to make a double table here. And can be folded up against the bulkhead also. She has a nice deep bilge for a fin keel spade rudder boat. There's a little bit of water in there right now because it was raining overnight like crazy. And I had the pump off. Put it on here for a second and then we'll have a look at this. I placed the sponge in there. It has a backflow valve. However, as you know, sometimes it gives in a little bit. So you can see here the keel bolts as reference. My finger are massive, and they are in excellent shape. So this is the gusher pump, and then there's a manual bilge pump. And the bilge is slanted. The keel stub to the keel hull joint is slanted forward, and it allows for a deepest point up front. Smart design, and probably one of the biggest keel boats I've seen so far. And we're talking here 28.5 feet in length. The bigger the boats, the bigger the boats, obviously. And also the forward bulkhead has been placed nicely. You can see the liners are kind of nicely disguising the outer edges of the bulkhead. It's placed in a floating fashion, but actually quite snug, so there's no movement as far as I can tell. And that here is also nice. Your side stays are tying into the hull. Now that we're at it, let's have a look at the hull deck joint. There's a junk food here. I hope you can see that. There is about every 4 to 6 inches a machine bolt placed. So it's chemically bonded and mechanically fastened. It's an inward flange and then disguised from the outside with an aluminum tow rail, which is great. Let me get my flashlight. So there you have a better shot at this. Alright everybody, before we take it any further with our boat tour, let's take a moment and look at her lines, specifications, and out of that resulting performance data. The CNC29 Mark II is a fin keel spade rudder design, super sharp, very maneuverable, very nimble that way. It's a masthead sloop, so foresail extends all the way up to the mast top. However, she does have a little baby stay and a backstay tensioner, so you can put some bend into that mast if you like. Fiberglass composite construction, and the boat and attached keel, fin keel, has been made from lead. As you can see here, she was only in production for about 3 years, from 83 to 86. Although that is a relatively short production run, they managed to pump out 400 hulls during that time. So I call that extremely successful. That is a successful design. Yes, and it is CNC Yachts behind it, a Canadian-based company, but they had also marketing facilities and sometimes even construction facilities abroad. So in the United States for this boat also, and for other models even in Europe, like in Germany, the city of Kiel, all the way up north. So it was a very, very successful company that had at its peak towards the end of the 70s about 50% of the Canadian yacht market and 20% of the US market. So that is really impressive. So the designer team behind this, so it claims, is Casperson and Cassian, the two Georges. To the left here you see George Cassian. He has a background as an aircraft designer and was mostly responsible for the interior design and such. And to the right, this is George Casperson. He is a mechanical engineer by trade, and he drew the lines and so forth and so on, and performance calculation. Yeah, so the two Georges, famous designer team, they founded the CNC design group, I think already somewhere around 1961, 62, 63, somewhere around that neighborhood. And they were also responsible for designing the famous Red Jacket. You might have heard about that boat. There's basically two really famous Canadian boats known worldwide, and then one is the Blue Nose, that famous schooner that is on every Canadian dime, I believe it is. And then the Red Jacket, described back then as the meanest and hungriest 40-footer out there that won all the races. So they were known for high performance designs, and also CNC yachts became worldwide known for over average production quality. So fair to say, yes everybody, she is a Canadian girl. That's right. So this particular boat has been sold in the US and Canada. So, as you can see here, length overall 28.5 foot. Whoa, wait a second, that is cheating, isn't it? It's not 29 feet long. Well, that's interesting. So we have reviewed recently a couple of 28.5 foot boats, amongst that the O'Day 28.5 and also the Beneteau First 285. I will leave both video links for you in the end screen here, so stick around to the very end. If you're interested in comparing those three designs, and they're exactly on the dot the same length, that would be super interesting, because the performance is so different, and it's really an eye-opener how foot length of a boat doesn't say much about performance, seaworthiness, and anything really. There's so much more to it. Okay, so length of the waterline 22.33 feet, and she can carry almost 400 square foot of sail area here. The beam at 9.42 and her displacement at 6,700 pounds. Ballast 2,700 pounds. And yes, the standard configuration with a normal fin keel is deep, 5.3 foot. She goes to weather like a rocket. Beautiful. There's also a shoal draft available at 4 feet. So out of that resulting performance calculation here, you can see the sail area to displacement at almost 18, so she can carry a lot of canvas to get going. Great performance. Ballast to displacement just over 40, I think that is beautiful right there. And the displacement to length is another indication for high quality here in thickness of the laminate layout, basically at 268 point something. She is not light, but also not overbuilt. I call that robust. It is an MIOR boat, so it has blue water in it. It has some structural integrity. Comfort ratio comes up to almost 22, and the capsize screening formula at 2.0. Yes, on the dot 2, perfect right there. So if I look at all of this, that makes me wonder, you know, if you look at the CNC 35 Mark III from about the same era, and it looks almost identical, just way larger, basically, bigger boat. This was a Robert Ball design. So, food for thoughts. What do you guys think? Is it really Cassian and Cuthbertson behind it, or might it be already Robert Ball? Well, the official data says it's a CNC designer group, but I'm confused here a little bit, I must admit. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment in the description box if you would. Okay, you can see here serial number at 2.07, high speed 6.33 and pounds per inch immersion, so it takes about 752 pounds to bring her down the first inch. She was delivered for auxiliary power with a Yanmar 2GMF diesel 13 horsepower freshwater cooled engine. I think it's a great motor for this boat. Perfect. At about 1,800 to let's say 2,000 RPM, you're right there at or above house speed. Ideal. Fuel tank generous, 20 gallons, and water tank even more generous, 32 gallons. So important to note, entirely different design from the earlier CNC 29 from 1977. That boat has nothing to do with it. Two totally different boats out of different tooling, different designs. Actually, the 29 Mark II was marketed as a replacement for the very successful 27 later on Mark IV, I think was the last one they made, or even 5, I don't know, lost count here. But it was never intended, is my point, as a replacement for the original 29. It wasn't even known as a 29 Mark I. I think that is just what people say. It was a 29. And the 29 Mark II, however, was actually seen as a replacement of the 27. So that is super interesting to know. So don't get those two boats mixed up. That is very, very different. All right, that's it on that note here. Let's get back to the boat tour, shall we? The cockpit is very spacious. It even has here a little port light for the pilot berth. Nice cutout for the wheel. And two gas lockers for propane gas bottles that are vented overboard. This one was a better example. Engine instruments up in the back. Gusher pump, good sized drains, emergency tiller, high bridge deck with traveler on it, and an even higher companionway entrance. And here's the tow rail, the aluminum tow rail that disguises the hull to deck joint. There's essentially two cabins. This here is the forward part. It's a bit awkward to operate. It has a good size V-berth also. It's a nice big hatch. Cushions are in excellent shape. And then the head compartment. This here has a composting toilet, which is lovely. And once you have that open, it's decent size. You can also use it by closing it up, like so. And locking it from the inside. And then there's a really good size hanging locker here to starboard. This will make for a nice sea berth if one would put a leak cloth in front of it. And then a huge pilot berth that is really, really nice with the electrical panel right here and VHF radio and such. And as mentioned before, that little window here, that little port light for ventilation. I just want to take a brief moment here for a big shout out to Eric Thomas and his amazing staff at Barker's Island Marina. They are phenomenal people. If you are in the Duluth Superior area and you need anything around boats, go see them. They run a full service and maintenance department. They can do anything from simple things like winterizing your engine to complete overhauls, repowering your boat, even complete vessel overhauls. They have everything that you could possibly imagine, and they are super easy to talk to, really nice folks. A special thank you also here to John Hernick, our trusty broker. He is a really great guy. If you need to sell your boat or you are looking for a particular boat in that area, go talk to him, go see him. He will definitely help you out. Thank you guys very much. And for you out there, I will leave the link to Barker's Island Marina down in the description box. Thank you. Behind this little inspection hatch here is where you gain access to the aft part of the boat, like the quadrant and the rudder post. And this has been massively reinforced. I was very impressed with that. So there you have it. You look at the reinforcements here around the rudder post, they are massive. And there is your quadrant. Yeah, you can tell it's a midget IOR boat. Everything has been built solid. Also, as you can see over there between the hoses, as an example, all the through-hull fittings have pretty decent backing plates and are reinforced properly. This is, by the way, the through-hull drain for the propane locker. And this is the L-shaped galley. Not very much to look at. You got plenty of storage though. You got this 2-burner gimbaled propane stove. I'm not a big fan of propane. I wish that was alcohol, so I might actually swap that out at some point. Decent space to have all your dishes and spices and what else you need. A pretty deep sink close to center line of the boat where it makes sense, with a foot pump and pressurized water and a little flipper pump, a ginormous size ice box. This here is big for a boat of this size and very deep and well insulated. 110 volt outlets, propane gas, solenoid, and then the 2-burner stove here, gimbaled. This can come off, and then there's a little knob here, and that allows the unit to gimbal freely. I'd say that boat is definitely above production standard on all the deck hardware. This has been done throughout the entire boat in the same fashion, like in here, underneath here. You can get to everything, and yet it's nicely disguised by an inner liner. Also handrails in the boat, left and right, that allow you to go forward easy once you're underway. And again, pretty solid mast, gear stepped. All in all, a very, very nice boat. Oh, I forgot to mention there's also in the bathroom a shower pan, so you can actually have a shower in there also. That's what CNC is all about. Cassian and Kaspersen did a hell of a job combining sportiness, performance with creature comforts, because as much of a little club racer racing boat this is, it is also a very comfortable little family cruising yacht for a couple or a small family. So down here is a shower pan. There's actually a drain pump underneath it, and there's a shower head that you can pull out. Also a port light with a bug screen. All the port lights in this boat have bug screens. And there's even an extra port light here in the Saloon. So one up front, one here, and then companionway hatch. And I think the cockpit is also decent size for the overall length of the boat.
Oh, roost anchor.
The anchor locker is actually pretty big for a boat of this size. So as you can see here, single spreader mast, and the side stays come down to the same point on the same chain plate next to the mast, which is fine because it's a keer step mast. Beautiful day to sail. Another really sweet design feature is this modern looking front edge here of decent size. I really like that. Super nice. Yeah, with that much sail area to displacement, she's a really great light air performer. She goes in almost no wind, it's unreal. But also does she stand up to a blow actually pretty good. You know, I'd say throw the first reef in somewhere around 15 to 20 knots maybe. And then you want to think about the second one, let's say around 25 to 30 knots. And furl accordingly, obviously, to balance the sail plan. But in general, the boat is very well balanced. It has a little bit of weather as it should. And it also sails surprisingly stiff and upright, which I did not expect because I got this little bit fooled here by that round transom. But if you look a little bit closer at the hull shape, you see she has some flat area in the middle that gives the boat good initial stability also. Yeah, all in all, a well thought out and laid out little sailboat, performance cruiser racer. The only minor complaint that I have is underneath here, this city, there is the massive water tank and the holding tank, which is not in use anymore because now she has a composting head. So, and also to starboard in that cockpit locker, the water heater. So everything is hanging here on starboard. This city here flips over and out and makes the double bed. And because there's this upper part that comes over, they put access hedges down below here. I would have liked to see rather the tanks on port side closer to the head that way, and you would have normal on top access to plenty of storage that way over here, whereas now you're always crawling on the floor trying to get underneath the table and such. So there's a little bit of a minus. If I could have had it my way, I would have put holding tank as well as freshwater tank probably to port side, or one to port, one to starboard, even better to balance it out a little bit. Yeah, but other than that, not much to complain about, really. I do like this boat a lot. Thank you, Jack. Here's to you. Now, to sum it all up, let's get back to the core question from the very beginning. Is this boat any good? Should it be on your shortlist? I'd say if you are in the market for a boat, let's say 28 to 30 foot in length, club racer, cruiser, the answer is definitely yes. The S3E17 Mark II is a phenomenal boat, an almost perfect balance strike within between creature comforts and performance. It is a very nice cruising boat, but also might actually still win you some trophies at your local yacht club on the race course. So this is a really good boat, above average construction quality with a lot of attention to detail, that even has some blue water in its DNA, given that it was actually designed and constructed as an MIOR boat. So consider a boat like this nowadays probably around 120,000 to maybe even 150,000, possibly more. I'd say if you can pick it up between 10 to 15 grand depending on equipment and overall condition, this is a hell of a bargain. A solid, good old boat. My advice would be go get it. As always, folks, thanks for watching. Hope you found it helpful. If you did, please like, subscribe, share, leave a comment. Do everything you can to mess with that YouTube algorithm. Much appreciated. Also, consider becoming a Patreon if you want. We'll catch you on the next one. Cheers!